Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you stopping on in, coming on by, listening to some music with me. Thank you so much for being here. Today, we're going to do a full album listen in celebration of another Long Song Saturday, which I hope you guys are enjoying. We're going to go ahead and listen to Iggy Pop's The Idiot. This is his debut album, which was released in 1977. I do know that David Bowie not only produced this album, but has some strong associations with Iggy Pop. From what you guys have told me. I haven't really dug into that, but so that's exciting. Always happy to hear some Bowie influence produced music. I've heard a lot about Iggy Pop himself. We've listened to one track from him, Lust for Life, a while back, and I do mean a while back, and I was actually gifted this album with the other one. I gotta be honest, I don't remember the song at all, so let's just take a full course meal in listening to this whole album, and I think that that will be a good introduction, especially seeing as it's his debut album. This particular album was suggested, or at least mentioned, I can't always tell, by Nomis Nestrel, Veg de Gaulle, Mort Cavilling, Jesper Servin Hoggers, Dennis Mason, Wanderson Oliveira, Chris Meadows, Wagstaff, Cleve Crudgington, BJW Nash. These names are actually easier to read than the usual. Mark Rib, Pontiac To Go, Cluey, Jeremy B., Linus Photograph. The list goes on quite a bit from there. Brad Smack and Summertime Blues. So thank you guys so much for the suggestions. And there may be many more of you. There may be less of you. But that's what we got for now. So if it's your first time here, I hope that you enjoy listening to the music alongside with me. I always want to hear your comments down in the comment section below. And that's it. That's the intro. Press the like button and subscribe if it is your first time here, just to get it out the way. Might as well. It helps me out a great deal. And support the Patreon if you want to. You don't have to, but it helps me doing this. All right, that's the intro. Now we're done. Let's go ahead and listen to the first track on the album, which starting off is going to be Sister Midnight. Well, here we go. I was going to remember, put the headphones on first, then press the button. Not the other way around.
Playing a fool, calling Sister Midnight, calling Sister Midnight, hunted me with his sex gun, calling Sister Midnight.
Sometimes you start off on the wrong foot, sometimes you step off on the right foot. And this is definitely on the right foot. This is setting us up to go down the correct path. All right, that slow draw of a funk put down by the bass that's either played by Lauren or Laurence the Tybalt or George Murray. Don't know who's playing on this particular track, but that slow, thick groove, occasionally with a little pop fill-in. Then occasionally get a little, like sometimes, right? Just slow walking you down the aisle. Then you have Bowie alumni Carlos Alomar on the guitar. Always a joy to hear. Always a pleasure to hear what he's doing here. Here is no different. Playing like a glammy, funky guitar line amongst that, including little bits of experimentation as well. Bowie here, I'm assuming it's him. You have a backing synth line that is sustained at certain moments through the track, which just adds this, I guess, kind of lowish feel to it. There's a little bit, to me, of station to station here as well. But I like how slow this track is in its drive, in its funk. And then Iggy himself, at least in this track, his vocals complement Bowie's, but his vocals are definitely deeper, at least in the way he's singing here. But then I'm pretty sure he's harmonizing and providing his own backing vocals in this track. I'm not sure, but I do see Bowie produce or give some backing vocals in some tracks. So it could be Bowie, but I think it might be Iggy on this one. But I like how you can hear him up front with that low drawl, that creeping kind of baritone singing. And then in the back, there's a little bit of a higher singing. I don't think it's Bowie. Could be. I don't think it is, because it doesn't sound quite like Bowie. But I think that it's Iggy, at least performing his own backing vocals on this track, even though Bowie might be in there somewhere. But I think that that is sensational. That's a great way to start us off. And then you have Dennis Davis or Michael Santangeli on the drums. Just Bum, 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 bum. That's an earworm of a rhythm, right? And that bass, bum, 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 bum. Give me a little bit of that. Calling Sister Midnight, you've got me reaching for the moon. Calling Sister Midnight, you've got me playing the fool. Calling Sister Midnight, can you hear me call? Can you hear me well? Can you hear me at all? Calling Sister Midnight, well, I'm an idiot for you. Calling Sister Midnight, I'm a breakage inside. Calling Sister Midnight, you know I had a dream last night. Mother was in my bed and I made love to her. Father, he gunned for me, hunted me with his 6th gun. Calling Sister Midnight, what can I do about my dreams? Listen to me, Sister Midnight, you've got me walking in rags. You put a beggar in my heart. Question. In his dream, Mother was in my bed. Whose mother? Like someone else's mother, right? I don't... Got an Oedipus situation going on here? Ooh, actually, I think so. Because I just realized, Father, he gunned for me. Well, why would Father be gunning for you and you don't call anyone else Father? So is Sister Midnight the Oracle at Delphi? Just putting that out there. Or Tiresias, I guess you could say. Let's go ahead and move on to the next track here, which is going... Hold on, I got to pull it up here. That's going to be Night Clubbing. Here we go. This is like a twisted, sleazy striptease.
Night clubbing, we're night clubbing.
That came in very sneaky. I like that. The synth in the back here, see what I mean? Like, it's this current under everything. See, in night clubbing, I definitely heard Bowie back there. I can recognize his voice. I've heard enough from Bowie. Sometimes I don't recognize voices, but I heard him in the back on this one. I like how Iggy starts off, then Bowie comes in on the background just a little bit. Very monotone in the back there, very sterile. But the whole track has this kind of electronic art pop kind of sterility to it. But at the same time, there's, like I said, this dystopian striptease element to it. That's what I'm hearing when I hear the music. Come on, you don't hear that the music in the beginning here. Let me pull it back. Right? You don't hear that? That's like I've seen it, but I've never really seen it. Like Blade Runner or like an old, I don't know, cyberpunk kind of setting or whatever. And this is like a robot on the side of the road with the music going da 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 da, like pulling up the band like a little bit. There's a little bit of that kind of element to it. And I think that is so cool how they capture this seediness, this sexiness, this technological advancement at the time in the music. I think they capture all of that. The kind of robotic, to an extent, Newman-esque, I would say, vocals from Iggy and accentuated by Bowie after, I think are really great in furthering this kind of theme. Matter of fact, making me think about it, has Iggy Pop, David Bowie, and Gary Newman ever worked together? Because I feel like there could be something there. And then Alomar's guitar, the way that it pops in 2 times in there, that adds in, like, it's almost like short circuitry in the sexiness. That's what I'm seeing. Don't ask me why, that's what I'm seeing. But it's so cool the way that his guitar comes in both of those times, because it's kind of unexpected. It kind of comes in, not abrupt, but in a shocking kind of way. But it sounds so cool in there. That's good. It's very good. The lyrics. Night clubbing, we're night clubbing. Where what's happening? We're an ice machine. We see people, brand new people. There's something else. This could be a very simple song about them going clubbing. Or it could be more. We're walking through town, night clubbing. We walk like a ghost. We learn dances, brand new dances, like the nuclear bomb. See, it's that line which makes me think like maybe these dances are the dances of war. But also the ending, when we're night clubbing, bright white clubbing, oh, isn't it wild? The bright white part, is that a cocaine reference? Because I really can't remember. But during the Berlin trilogy, and Bowie's time with Iggy in Berlin, because I'm pretty sure, if I'm thinking correctly, this is that album, or at least one of those albums that was like, not part of the Berlin trilogy, but kind of part of the Berlin trilogy in a sense, or at least Berlin adjacent. Wasn't this when Bowie was trying to get clean? I'm 99% sure, if I remember correctly, this is them trying to get clean in this particular era. But I could be wrong about that. I'll have to read a little bit into the article as we go. So maybe this is a remembrance of that time, while maybe not indulging at this particular time. I'm not sure. It says that this has been considered a career highlight along with Lust for Life and has been covered by many artists. It is recorded in Berlin, featuring Bowie on piano with the aid of a Roland drum machine. When Pop pronounced himself happy with the result, Bowie protested that they needed real drums to finish it off. Pop insisted on keeping the rhythm machine, saying it kicks butt. It's better than a drummer. Pop largely wrote the lyrics on the spot in 10 minutes, Bowie suggesting that he write about walking through the night like Ghost. The song's riff has been perceived as mischievous, quote of Gary Glitter's Rock and Roll. I can see mischievous to it, but I'm gonna go with dystopian striptease. That's how I'm gonna say that is. All right, let's move on to the next track here, which is going to be Fun Time. Sounds like a good time. Let's go.
Hey baby, we like your pants.
Kind of robotic, monotonous vocals coming after.
Don't need no heavy trip. We want some.
You know, if I'm being 100% honest with you, I didn't really like Fun Time that much. I actually wasn't having a fun time. I think an advantage in my mind is that it was short, so it wasn't like overly long. But at the same time, even coming in at 2 minutes and 50 seconds, I kind of got bored with it about halfway in. There wasn't really anything changing or necessarily interesting beyond what I thought was a really nice musical background with, you know, the bass line, bum, 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 with Iggy singing over that. And then on the second half of each stanza, it would open up a little bit and it would grow the background harmonies. The bass line would rise, the synth would come in a little harder, and then it would back down to where it was before. I thought that was nice, but I kind of needed a little something extra. I don't know why, but this track, it didn't hit me. I didn't really care for Fun Time. It came across a little samey, a little boring to an extent. I was missing some of the things that we just heard in the other tracks. This one seems like a letdown to me. If I'm being honest, it didn't really hit me. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey baby, we like your lips. Hey baby, we like your pants. All aboard for Fun Time. Hey, I feel lucky tonight. I'm gonna get stoned and run around. All aboard for Fun Time. Last night I was down in the lab talking to Dracula and his crew. Must have been listening to Dracula Flow 5. All aboard for Fun Time. I don't need heavy trips. I just do what I want to do. We're having fun. Don't need drugs to have a fun time. He says, I don't need your trips. But at the same time, he also did say, I'm going to get stoned and run around. So I'm not sure where he lies there. But regardless, either way, sober or not, he's going to have a fun time. Whereas this particular track, I wasn't really having a fun time. It was all right. It's to me, this is like a fillerist kind of track. This particular track, let's see, it reflects Iggy and Bowie's growing fascination with the German music scene and bears marked similarities to Lila Engel by Neu. It has since been covered by multiple artists, including Blondie, Boy George, B.B. Buell, Peter Murphy, R.E.M., and The Cars. Interesting. A lot of people have covered this track. Should have covered the one right before. That's a good track. It says Iggy had the idea for the song after hearing the Sex Pistols cover the song No Fun by his band, The Stooges. Bowie wrote the music as well as plays guitar, synth, piano, and sings the main chorus of the track. Most notably, one of the riffs he plays is a parody of the main riff of I Can't Get No Satisfaction. I did not even catch that at all. I didn't even catch that at all. I should have probably, huh? Let's go ahead and move on to the next track here, which hopefully will be a fun time. That's going to be Baby. Here we go, guys. once again, at least the main rhythm of this song is going back to that sexy dystopian vibe. That guitar or bass with slight distortion on it, just kind of sexily moseying down the street. That's a very sexy groove that it's going down and walking down. And the singing has that low romanticism to it as well, whether it's towards a person or scenery or a feeling or an emotion. It has that forlorn, wayward kind of romanticism, that wanderlust, that looking for something. I think that sounds really, really cool in here. And I really love that little, just a little bright spot of synth that pops up after the verse. It springs up for just a moment. And then with that, it kind of brings a lot of subtle elements in tow with it as it moves into the chorus. You have backing vocals, which also sound like they have some sort of filter on it, some sort of electronic synthiness going on there. And then the guitar, once again, I was listening to it here, and behind the music, kind of in the shadows, there's like this scratchy, once again, glammy kind of guitar playing in the back that to me furthers that discreet indiscretions or so. I just think that that's a really wonderful sound that's really carrying forth the tone of the album so far. And I think that this particular track furthers that really nice. Baby, don't you cry, baby, I'll sing you a lullaby. We're walking down the street of chance, where the chances are always slim or none, and the intentions unjust. Baby, there's nothing to see, I've already been down the street of chance. Like, I've already been this way, we don't need to go again. Baby, you're so clean, please stay clean. We're walking down the street of chance, where the chances are always next to none, and the intentions unjust. Baby, there's nothing to see, I've already been down this road. I like how this is kind of a cautionary tale. He's saying to this other person, like, I've already been down this road. It's not a good road to go on. It's not worth going down this road. But for this other person, it is a new road. They haven't been down it, so they need to experience it for themselves. They want to try it for themselves, even though, experience in this case saying, let's not do that. Whatever this road may be. Baby, there's nothing to see. I've already been down the street of chance. Baby, don't cry. I've already cried. Like, I've really been through this, and I've suffered because of it. I don't want you to go through the same thing that I did. We're walking down the street of chance. The chances are always slim or none, and the intention unjust. Like, it's not even really, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. There is a little bit of some sentences about this track. It says it's primarily led by bass and synth rather than drums. While it is German influence, Seabrook considers the song more cabaret and less krautrock. Well, that's the word I'm looking for, cabaret. That's a good one. Lyrically, it's about a relationship that is soon to fail. There you go. Let's move on. There was more to it, but it looked like it was starting to talk about the next track here. So let's go ahead and listen to that news track before we spoil it for ourselves. That's going to be China Girl. Here we go. Nice tone change in the atmosphere. We're halfway through, and this is the best song on the album. Halfway through, don't tell me different. I want to hear it. I can't hear you. La, la, la. That's the best song on the album so far. Okay, that was such a perfect song. This is a perfect song to me. This one, it is so emotional. I get one word out of this, and it is catharsis. The way that Iggy's singing, the way the music builds up, it releases, it satisfies. It is cathartic in its nature. It is cathartic in its build-up, in the layering. Sensational musicianship here. And the way that he sings. When he gets into the, I don't know, like a little vocal fry, it's actually so soulful. The way he cries out in pain, desperation, whatever it may be, passion. Whatever he's crying for, there's reason behind it and there's a power behind it. And I think that is sensational. And he gets to that point at about the halfway point, and then he steadily brings it down, but not taking away the energy, just kind of changing it, shifting it, before bringing it around one more time for a brilliant conclusion to the first side of the album. This is a great track. That is fantastic. You have some, I don't know, percussion, or I don't think it's marimba or like vibes or anything like that, but or wind chimes. It's something like that. Some metallic instrument sound being like kind of played around in the music. Once again, the synth sounds are brilliant. Alamar's guitar, I think he is incredibly creative, perhaps very underrated. While obviously a continuing member of Bowie's band and Bowie affiliated bands, like he deserves a lot of spotlight for what he brings to the table for his creativity. There's certain moments here where Alomar starts playing guitar with this kind of riffing gallop that is still incredibly melodic, and then Bowie's synths would kind of either ride with that or ride alongside it, and it just creates this beautiful, beautiful space in which the bass would continue to kind of dive in and out rhythmically, and the drums would bring the power, bring flair, bring in different fills at different points to make each go around that much more sensational. And then Bowie brings the sax on board, which, yes, please, why not? Like, these are all just elements that continually take the next step further and keep evolving the track into something that's reaching for greatness and eventually touches it. I couldn't escape this feeling with my China girl. I'm just a wreck without my little China girl. I'd hear her heart beating, loud as thunder, saw the stars crashing. I'm a mess without my China girl. Wake up mornings, there's no China girl. I'd hear heartbeat or hearts beating loud as thunder, see the stars crashing down. I'd feel tragic like I was Marlon Brando when I'd look at my China girl. I could pretend that nothing really meant too much when I'd look at my China girl. I'd stumble into town just like a sacred cow, visions of swastikas in my head. And plans for everyone, it's in the white of my eyes, my little China girl. You shouldn't mess with me, I'll ruin everything you are. I'll give you television, I'll give you eyes of blue, I'll give you men who want to rule the world. And when I get excited, my little China girl says, "Oh, Jimmy, just shut your mouth." She says, "Shush." Could be about a relationship, sure. Or it could be about something bigger. But I'm not 100% sure. Like, he wakes up sometimes and she's not there. But why is she not there? What is he worried about? Let's look at this one a little bit, because I'm not 100% sure. It says that, let's see. Inspired by an affair Pop had with a Vietnamese woman. Well, you got the race wrong with ethnicity there. The lyrics tell a story of unrequited love for the protagonist's Asian girlfriend, realizing by the end that his Western influences are corrupting her. Oh, like taking away from her traditions and her culture, that kind of thing. Okay. Like the rest of the Idiot, Bowie wrote the music and Pop improvised the lyrics while standing at the microphone. The song was released as a single in 1977 and failed to chart. I'm actually kind of surprised that this failed to chart, because I think that this would be, like, out of the songs we've heard, one of the most successful singles, because this is a really fantastic track. I'm surprised, actually. Bowie re-recorded a more well-known version of this for his album Let's Dance, reportedly to assist Pop or with his poor finances at the time. Okay, that's kind of cool though. Like, he covered it, a different version of the song, because the royalties, since he covered it, would go to Iggy. That's kind of that's actually really cool and a really thoughtful way of doing that. It says this song began as a piece called Borderline that the two came up with one night residing in Chateau de Hérouville, France. During the sessions for Pop's debut solo album, Pop had a brief affair with blah, blah, blah. The two did not speak the same language, communicating through gestures and expressions. The lyrics inspired this song. Da, 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 and that's all there is to that. This is a really, really great track. That's very, very good. Let's go ahead and move on into the second side of the album, actually. That goes quick. I just noticed, actually, that the second side only has 3 tracks. I didn't even realize that. Let's go ahead and do that with Dumb Dumb Boys. Here we go.
What happened to Zeke? He's dead on Jones.
Did not need to be that hard. This song has that back alley strut That's what I'm hearing here. Kind of like with the bounciness that we got in the first track, which was so captivating and immediately gets your attention. When we flip over the record and we get this as our introduction, this is a back alley strut. The bum ba bum ba bum ba bum, and it still escalates so well, especially because of Alamar's guitar. I know I keep mentioning it, but I can't help but really love the way that the guitar is being used in here, from of course playing those riffs but also giving a lot of texture and atmosphere in the song itself. Iggy is once again singing incredibly passionate. He's going from low tones down here in the dark to up here with the very soulful and bluesy-esque kind of yelling. His singing in a lot of places here, especially, I mentioned it, reminds me of Jim Morrison from The Doors. And I would say that, I wouldn't say that they're like one to one, but style wise, that's just me. I just hear a little Morrison in there, but I think he sounds absolutely wonderful. I think that this song, for being 7 minutes long, and it's relatively repetitive, it's not like there's a lot of major changes in there, but unlike Fun Time, while it stays at a same pace for the most part, I think that there's more going on here that's interesting, especially because of Alamar's guitar. Even though you have some sensational drum work as well, the bass is doing a fantastic job of putting down that rhythm for everything to kind of bounce off of. And then occasionally you'll hear Bowie come in with some backing vocals just to add a little extra in there. But I think that this is worthy of its timeline, or time length rather. What happened to Zeke? You got a little conversation in the beginning. He's dead on Jones, man. How about Dave? OD'd on alcohol. What's Rock doing? He's living with his mother. What about James? He's gone straight. Well, things have been tough without the Dum Dum Boys. I can't seem to speak the language. I remember how they used to stare at the ground. They looked as if they put the whole world. Down. The first time I met the Dum Dum Boys, I was fascinated. They stood in front of the old drugstore. I was most impressed. No one else was impressed, not at all. Well, where are you now, my Dum Dum Boys? Are you alive or dead? Have you left me the last of the Dum Dum days? And then the sun goes down, and then the boys broke down. People said we were negative. They said we would take, but we would never give. So the line where he says that he admits that he was, I guess, part of the Dum Dum Boys, have you left me the last of the Dum Dum days? It seems like he's talking bad about them, but at the same time, well, you know what? The conversation in the beginning, catching up, what happened to this person? Oh, well, they OD'd. What happened to this person? They're living with their mother. Catching up, and then afterwards saying, what happened to all my Dum Dum Boys? So maybe it's not necessarily in a put-down way, even though it could be. There could be some bad blood there. But it could just be we were all dumb and young at a particular point, So, where are they now? So it doesn't necessarily have to have a negative connotation, even though it possibly can. Well, now, I'm looking for the Dum Dum Boys. Hey, where are you now when I need your noise? Now, I'm looking for the Dum Dum Boys. The wall's closing in and I need some noise. So, I like that, right? Now I need them more than ever. Maybe he just needs someone to talk to, needs his friends, whoever, whatever that may be. But there is, hold on, because I saw that there was a paragraph for this particular song. So let me get to that. Here we go. In 1997, Pop explained the origins of Dum Dum Boys. I only had a few notes on the piano. I couldn't quite finish the tune. Bowie said, don't you think we can make a song with that? Why don't you tell the story of the Stooges, which is the band that Iggy came from? He gave me the concept of the song and the title. Originally Dum Dum Days. Likewise, a tribute laments for Pop's former Stooges bandmates. The spoken intro references Zeke Zettner, Dave Alexander, Scott Ashton, and Williamson, who were members of the Stooges. O'Leary considers it Pop's equivalent to Bowie's song Ziggy Stardust. I can see it. It's a really good track, though. I can tell you that. I love the epic build-up in it, especially because of Carlos. Let's move on into the next track here, which is, I gotta scroll back to it, the track list. It's Tiny Girls. Here we go. Slow dance with me, baby. Come on. Love how sax and bass is kind of leading this.
Such a know-it-all when you only want just a tiny.
I love the youthful, romantic feeling of this track. When I hear a song like that with that romantic bass line, the saxophone, goddamn, Bowie's sax in here, especially, I mean, yeah, the first part is great, but that re-entrance when he puts in that little bit of, I don't know what's called, that vibrato, that rattle, that, like when he leads in, that's a fantastic moment. That is kind of like the climax of that particular romance right there, which is just wonderful. Iggy's singing, rather not ceiling, is once again just layered with passion and emotion. He's singing with his heart out. This is possibly, at least at this point, we're almost near the end of the album, but this is like his most romantic way of singing, his most passionate. I think that he sounds sensational. He sounds like he means it. Sometimes it's easy to sound like you mean it, but you don't always sound like you mean it. Here, I think he sounds like he means it. But from the intro, it gives me that school dance, that first night at prom, homecoming, whatever it may be, kind of feeling with the snappy drums, while romance fills the air with the guitar, bass. I love how the bass and the sax led in the intro. It's love is in the air. Love is in the air. Well, the day begins, you don't want to live because you don't believe, or you can't believe in the one you're with because you know her tricks and you know her past. When she makes a face, you just have to laugh. And you feel like such a know-it-all when you only want just a tiny girl. And you hope she'll sing, so you turn around toward the tiny girls who got no tricks, who have no past. Yeah, that's when you think and you hope she'll sing, but she sings you greed, or sings of greed like a young banshee. And she wants for this and she wants for that. Now what do you think? Well, seems like what he's basically saying is he wants to be in a relationship with someone that doesn't have a ton of baggage, that doesn't have a ton of, I don't know, problems, emotional or whatever it may be. No tricks, no past, not lying to him. Just wants innocence. Just wants someone that has no history, no baggage, nothing carry. You know what I mean? Like just wants to start over. I think he's kind of getting at here. He just wants to start over. Let's see if there's anything on this particular track. Lyrically, Pop's ideal is getting a tiny girl with no past and no tricks. Peg and Seabrook consider Bowie's saxophone performance on the track one of his finest. I can't disagree with that. So let's go ahead and agree upon something, and they're going to be the last track on the album. This one went actually really quick. I didn't realize it was going to go this quick, this album. It did go, right? That's going to be Mass Production, which I think is also the longest track on the album. Let me see. This is the longest track on the album, coming in at 8 minutes. Which, you know what? I know that this was written around the time of Low as well. It kind of, I don't know. I mean, not in the exact sense, whereas Low has relatively normal songs on the first half and then the second half is more experimental. I feel like we've gotten normal sized songs on the first half, and here we're kind of playing with more space, playing with more time on these two. Anyways, let's go ahead and hit it. Here we go. Has a station to station kind of feel with that. You gotta admit. Slow, heavy, a little bit of electronic in the back, big drums. I like how the drums were now a roll instead of just hits. That is such a weird sound. I can definitely understand the experimentation that takes place on this album and then on Bowie's albums with Low, because we start off station to station and then in the end, to me, we end on the more experimental side of Low, because you start off with, I don't even know, to me it sounded like an electronic highway. That was just what I was hearing. And that's an interesting way of coming into something, because it still sounded like travel, just like with Station to Station, the train tracks. You could hear that revving up before it breaks into that irresistible groove. And here you have a similar kind of format, and you have that irresistible groove in here. It's just slower, it's more methodical, and it's a lot heavier. And it just moves at this looming kind of pace, Like, and it has this weird sound that's surrounding it, which is, yes, going to be because of Carlos on the guitar, but I also got to credit Bowie on this because I'm assuming, but he's playing the synth and whatever back there, and some of the sounds that come in are kind of interesting, like that one synth line that to me sounds like it's constantly detuning, or it's out of tune, or it's warping, or the pitch is changing on it. That I don't know. It sounds like a sad cat. It's just mewing through the track. But it's interesting how it kind of plays the same melodic lead that Carlos does on the guitar with his riff, but it sounds out of tune, so it adds this uneasiness to it. It adds this unsettled feeling to the music, which is kind of interesting because the music is easy to digest, but there's those pieces of it that are a little bit more experimental, a little bit more abstract. That's what I mean, like where I feel like this is a kind of in-between album. I know it's Iggy Pop's album, but if I'm just using Bowie, like it's Station to Station and Low kind of in that section, which of course matches with the whole Berlin trilogy and everything. And then once again, Pop, his singing is so good on this album. I think that he has character. He doesn't sacrifice character to sound overly clean, but he sounds very, very good. Once again, kind of what we spoke about with the other songs, he sings with a certain passion. Sometimes he sings with this like industrial monotony in other tracks, but in tracks like this, he sings with a certain passion. And I think that there's a diversity in his character, in the way that he sings. I've only heard a little bit from him, so I can't speak overall, but he uses the range he has to great effect in putting out whatever feelings he's trying to put out in lieu of the music. Before you go, do me a favor. Give me a number of a girl almost like you. I think it says almost like you. Like, I don't need your number. Maybe you're already taken. Maybe, you're not interested. But give me the number of a girl like you. Which, she's not going to have a number like hers. Just her number. With legs almost like you. Did I almost do a Porky Pig? I'm buried deep in mass production. You're not nothing new. I like to drive along the freeways. See the smokestacks belching. Breasts turn brown, so warm and so brown. Though I try to die, you put me back on the line. Oh, damn it to hell, back on the line. Back on the line again and again. I'm back on the line. And I see my face here, and it's there in the mirror. It's up in the air, and I'm down on the ground. By the way, I'm going for cigarettes, and since you've got to go, won't you do me that favor? Won't you give me that number? Won't you get me that girl? Yeah, she's almost like you, and I'm almost like him. I like that reversal on the line. Like, he wants someone like this person, but at the same time, he's also saying, it won't be me, it'd be someone like me. Which I feel is a really brave way of perhaps flirting, or maybe not the right approach. I don't know. I can't say. But going back to like the middle section, where though I try to die, you put me back on the line. He's trying to do something, but this other person's holding him back. He says he's trying to die, but he gets put back in line, like mass production, industrialism, and that whole scenario of like a factory, mass producing people in a sense. There's something deeper in this song, and I'm not quite getting what it is. I feel like this is one of those tracks where I'm kind of halfway there, but I need some extra info to take me the full way. Let's see if that's here. It says, Iggy Pop has said that the automotive factories and industrialism of Detroit had a huge influence on his music. The song opens with a tape loop created by Magma bassist, Laurent Thibault, who played bass on the Idiot sessions. I didn't know that. We got some Magma alumni in here. That's actually really interesting. And I accidentally closed my page where I was getting information, so let me pull that back up so I can read some more about this song, but also about the album in general. Let's see. Bowie suggested the lyrics to Pop, who later recalled, he just said, I want you to write a song about mass production, because I would always talk to him about how much I admired the beauty of the American industrial culture that was rotting away where I grew up. I like how Bowie suggested a lot of lyrics, or ideas rather, to Pop. He didn't give him the lyrics, but just ideas. I like how that kind of comes together there, but there's no extra information on this particular track, so I'm still kind of halfway there on what it means, but maybe halfway is okay. Maybe others can fill in the rest with your own perspective. Looking at some of the information on this album, it says after the album was completed, Bowie began recording his next album, Low, which features a similar sound, which was released also to commercial success, and The Idiot released actually 2 months later. Upon its release, the album was divided, but largely positive from critics. It was accompanied by 2 singles, Sister Midnight and China Girl, which, like I said, China Girl really, come on. That's a really fantastic track. There's a lot of information on the background of this album, on the background of Bowie and Pop here. Pop's stints in rehab in 1974 and 76 were unsuccessful. Described Pop as reaching his lowest point in 76. Knowing he had to become sober, Pop accepted an invitation to join Bowie on his 1976 tour. By this point, Bowie also wanted to rid himself of drug addiction. During the tour, Pop was impressed with Bowie's work ethic, later stating that he had learned all of his self-help techniques through Bowie. There were further talks of Pop recording a solo album with Bowie as producer. Bowie and Carlos Alomar had written a new song, Sister Midnight, and offered it to Pop. Toward the end of the tour, both Bowie and Pop knew they wanted to avoid the drug culture of LA and decided to move to Europe. Now that's a good friend saying, hey, let's get away from this and let's just totally go across the world, basically. At its conclusion, Bowie was initially keen to produce Sister Midnight in Munich. After visiting France, the same place Bowie recorded his album Pinups, he instead decided to produce an entire album from Pop there. And they booked 2 months of studio time for that particular year. And like I said, there's a ton of other information on here about the album, about collaborations, just a lot of other information here. It says Bowie's original choice for guitarist was former King Crimson member Robert Fripp, who would of course work with him on Heroes, which we listened to. The last track recorded was Nightclubbing, with Bowie playing the melody on piano and using the old drum machine for backing stuff. Blah, 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 blah. There's a lot there. Anyways, it's a really cool album, though. Easily the best tracks are going to be, to me, China Girl. I mean, that's a really, really good one. That is the best track. And then maybe after China Girl, I would maybe say Dum Dum Boys. I think I feel relatively confident with that choice. With the worst track to me being Fun Time. Not keen on it. But let me know what you're keen on. Are you keen on pressing that like button? That's my transition. Let me know what you guys thought of the album in the comments down below. Thank you so much for joining me today and for listening to it alongside with me. You didn't have to. It could be your first time here and you're like, hey, I really like this. Or maybe not. Maybe it's your last time here. You're like, I didn't really like them. Didn't really like the music. I'm out of here. That's okay. I appreciate you just stopping by and listening. Even though I would have to imagine if you didn't like any of what I just said, you probably wouldn't get to this point, but maybe you're persistent. And I appreciate your endurance. Press the like button, subscribe, support on Patreon if you'd like. $2 a month. You don't have to, but it goes a long way for me. And that's the video, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, your afternoon, whatever it may be. And I'll see you all later, guys. Bye.